to all of you. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you to this online conference on revival of real estate. This is being held on the sidelines of the India Construction Week 2020. I thank profusely CIDC, the Construction Industry Development Council, for having thought it fit to have this kind of a conference. And it is different times now, so now we need to adapt. So being CIDC, which is does a lot of innovative work on construction technologies, I think we also need to adopt from coming in from the sites to now the online platform. So very happy to be here this afternoon. I thank Mr. V. Ramnath, chairperson of the Real Estate Screening Special Committee, and having thought it fit that to include me. I am PRAKASH-Challa, CMD of a company called SSPDL Limited. We are into construction and real estate at Chennai, Bangalore, and Hyderabad, and also some presence in Kerala. Apart from this, I'm also chairman of the CREDAI National Advisory Council. I've been associated with the Confederation of Real Estate Developers Association of India for several years now, having been the past national vice president and chairman of the taxation committee, etc. Very interesting to see that 2020, how it has evolved in the real estate space. The real estate is and construction industry, it contributes something close to around 12 to 13% to the GDP of the nation. The real estate companies, in terms of the actual business, they support more than 250 to 300 industries downstream. And any revival of the economy depends to a large extent on the real estate construction and real estate industry growing exponentially. Typically, we have been having a growth rate of around 10 to 12% annually. The advantage what India has today is that we have only domestic consumption. We don't need to depend on any external factors. The only external factor, if at all we require, is a lot of FDI to come in. And there are lots of opportunities for FDI to come in into this space, as to a large extent in terms of the way the funding is done in India. I'm addressing this issue because this is a larger audience, international scale. The funding in India is done to the real estate to the extent of only 5%. There is a cap fixed by the Reserve Bank of India, a sectoral cap on the deployment of funds to the real estate space. Apart from that, about typically around 9 to 12% is the funding which is done for the home loans and other sectors put together. So when you look at the total real estate portfolio, the commercial real estate occupies only 5%. The rest of it is the home loan segment. So in terms of total, it will not exceed more than 20 to 22%, while internationally this funding towards the real estate space is close to around 45%. So we have a long way to go, and there are good opportunities for the PE funds to come in and large REITs to walk into India in terms of development. Now, in the last 6 months, let's being specific about the post-COVID times, what has happened. COVID came in as a bolt from the blue for Indian real estate, because from 2013, we had a lot of challenges, and in terms of there was a very weak demand coming in. The economy was not doing all that well. And when we thought that when it's just about reviving in 2016, we had the demonetization, which impacted to a large extent. And then we had the GST, which was introduced in 2017, which created a major challenges in terms of the bottleneck of input tax credit. So major interventions, 3 major interventions into the real estate space has seen a lot of dampening of the sector. But luckily, when it was just about reviving around 2018-19, then COVID struck us. Surprisingly, within 3 months, we thought that COVID is going to take a long-term impact on the real estate space, but within 3 months, the markets bounced back. Maybe it is a question of that pent-up demand. Maybe to a large extent, banks also has reduced mortgage rates. The mortgage rates have come down to the historical low of close to 7%, which was never there. So these are the factors which have really improved in terms of the real estate space going in. I would like to share a couple of slides with you so that it gives you a better perspective of what exactly is happening in the space. This is just an introduction about myself so that those who are there to understand clearly. Now, this is a very interesting slide on the residential real estate market. If you look at it, the Q1 launches were around 40,000 units, and the Q2 launches fell down to only 14,780 units. And slowly, the Q3 also has come down to the 12,654. So the number of launches have come down. So that indicated that, yes, there are a lot of existing stock which got unloaded. So when you see the last slide, yes, a lot of slides, if you look at the sales activity increased across markets, there has been an improvement from Q2 to Q3 from 10,000 units to 14,000 units. Now, very interesting is the ticket size which is being actually selling today. It is majority is the sub 10 million rupees apartments. And when you look at it, the major the markets are Hyderabad. Hyderabad has done exceedingly well. Fairly, Chennai also has done fairly well. Bengaluru is not done so well in the Q3, while Mumbai market is existing pent-up demand was there, which got cleared up, and Pune is really rocking in terms of the numbers. So average, you have about 84% to 74%, and affordable housing is where the actual markets are there in India. So all the people who are looking at in trying to invest and come into the markets in India, they should look at this kind of the segment on which they should be looking at. In terms of number of units, it's running into millions of units of requirement is there. So for several years, this market is going to be stable. A lot of fiscal incentives have been given in terms and all that, as well as lowering of GST rates. There is still scope for the stamp duty reduction, which is likely to happen. And from CREDAI, we have been working aggressively for the reduction of the GST rate itself and on the construction contracting business, plus also look at giving the input tax credit, which is having a dampening effect in the higher cost of sales. Now, apart from the residential market, which is pretty buoyant today, we have to see a very interesting the office real estate market. Now, the entire real estate space in the country is moved on from the office market, generating a lot of jobs which are created. So when you look at the Q1 of 2020, it was around 8.62 million square foot which got absorbed. And Q2 was a dampener because just then the entire lockdown was introduced, and then subsequently the Q3 has just picked up and it has more or less given a 64% growth rate, which is very interesting. Now, same time, there's a lot of pre-commitment which have happened during that period. The pre-commitment was largely to clients in Bengaluru and Hyderabad. Hyderabad is a new place which is completely overtaken the other southern states, and it is inching to the #1 position next to Bengaluru. Very likely it is likely to cross over in terms of the infrastructure. Hyderabad is doing superb in the way the entire government has taken it to a different level there. So this is the basic industry where you have a lot of commitments and a lot of pre-commitments are going on there. And parallelly, the entire commercial real estate space also is taking a lot of changes now because the work from home rule has come in terms of several IT companies are now re-imaging their own requirements of office space. But as the latest survey which took place is there, where they have given clearly that the way the entire markets have revived, they look at it that this is a very short-term measure. Eventually, people need to come back to the offices because the way it is growing. Now, other two very interesting products which are shown a lot of growth potential is the data centers, because India is turning out to be a big data center destination where land prices are much cheaper and connectivity is very high, and we have a good power situation, especially Tamil Nadu and Chennai, where the underwater cable is landing, is a good opportunity for the data centers, as Tamil Nadu is surplus with even power. Apart from this, you have the warehousing space, because e-commerce has really taken off during the entire lockdown period, and people going forward are looking at larger e-commerce businesses happening. So warehousing is another major opportunity which is available for people to look at in terms of the businesses. All in all, the growth visibility is there in terms of the entire aspect of the real estate business. And with this, I think I should take it forward. In case you have any questions, you can email to me. I have given my email ID. I was just given a very short 10 minutes speech. I hope I have covered everything in it in terms of investments and domestic market and demographic dividend. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening.